Good morning, I'm David Elmore with NESA at the Jamboree, and I am here with distinguished Eagle Scout Brad Haddock. Brad, let me ask you to kind of give us tell us how you got involved in scouting in the first place.
All right. I became a Cub Scout when I was 8. My mom was a den leader with a friend of ours, and we began working in the Cub Pack. It was affiliated with the troop, like we should be, and we joined the troop right out of the Cub Pack and the Webelos, and then I became very involved with the Order of the Arrow when I was elected when I was 13, and continued in the troop. I was a cardiac Eagle. I finished my Eagle 3 weeks before I turned 18, and I'd been a Life Scout forever, it seemed like. And my mom had reminded me once, she said, it'd be a shame if you didn't finish that in 5 more months. And that's all it took to remind me to do that. And so then I was elected the Lodge Chief, shortly thereafter Section Chief, and then National Chief of the Order of the Arrow. And once I was involved nationally, I've been involved nationally with the Order of the Arrow Committee ever since, and then that just led to other things.
Good morning. We'll stop for a moment, let him make his announcements, and then we'll resume. That way we can edit it. Stand by. And thank you so much for coming here and doing this. We do appreciate that. And I'm going to try to turn the tables on Brian and get an interview with him.
His dad's on my Board of Regents for Scouting U.
Oh, really?
Don. They did a little presentation on millennials. It was hysterical. It was hysterical. So Don helps a lot.
Good deal. And yeah, we won't be using this little bit here, but just because he's doing the announcement. Once he's done with the announcement, we'll be able to start it. All right. Okay, let's resume. So tell me a little bit about one of the your most exciting experiences as a scout.
I think one of them was the summer before the conference when I was National Chief in '75. I worked in New Jersey at the national office because we didn't have internet, we didn't have anything but telefax machine and phone, and we were up there for about a month off and on. And one afternoon, Mr. Downs, who was the National Executive Secretary, said to me, "Don't wear a tie tomorrow, just wear casual clothes, we're going to run errands." And I said, "Great." So we show up about lunchtime, we take off and go run errands. And we go up this little driveway, and there was a house at the top of the hill. And to the left was a gazebo, and this small gentleman stood up with a beautiful white mustache, and it was Dr. Goodman in civvies. And we were at Ann Goodman's home in New Jersey, and they were going to have lunch with us in the gazebo. So Bill Downs, myself, Ann Goodman, and Dr. Goodman were all together in the gazebo. When lunch was over, Bill and Ann picked up the plates and went to the house. And it was just Dr. Goodman and myself for an hour about 3 weeks before my conference, and we just talked about everything. And the thing I remember the most about him, he always made eye contact, and you were the only thing that mattered to him. No distractions. He was a great advisor in that way because you felt you were important. And then at the conference, when he would sign autographs, each of the individuals might get a minute or two with him while he did it. He always paid attention only to that person, youth or adult, didn't matter. Ask them where they're from and meticulously sign their sash. It taught me a great deal about interacting in a role where people are a little nervous to talk to you, but the minute he did that, they would break down all the barriers, and it was just marvelous. But that was a great teaching moment for me.
That is a great story too, and that's actually one of my biggest regrets is I missed the NOAC, which was his last NOAC, and all of my friends came back with their sashes signed, and I was so envious. And then I didn't know he was going to pass away, but I missed it as a kid. Right.
And he got around great at our conference, but 4 years later he'd gone downhill quite a bit. But the thing about him is always cheerful, always wanted to know how you were doing. It wasn't about him, and that was really important to me to learn that.
That is fantastic. That just proves the point that those old timers were just outstanding people to take that time to be a part of a youth's life.
Right. I think so. And the other thing we forget about Dr. Goodman, he later became a professional. He was a scout executive in Chicago, and then he became the first program director nationally with Dr. West. So he really had an impact not only with the founding of the Order of the Arrow with Colonel Edson, but his whole life was spent then dedicated to Boy Scouts.
That is so fantastic to hear. Well, another quick question I'd like to ask you is tell us a little about your path to Eagle Scout.
Oh, well, in the troop, I had a very active troop. We had about 45 people. We had lots of adults. We had one assistant scoutmaster assigned for the Order of the Arrow so we could make sure we coordinated and didn't conflict with our troop and our OA activities. And I got very involved with that. I was very involved in sports. And I got life rank fairly quickly. And then I got actively doing other things. And I had my service project and one merit badge left when my mother told me in August, you're going to need to get that done. You'll regret it if you don't. That's really all she said. And I turned 18 in January. So I think my path to Eagle is pretty traditional, very methodical within the troop, had a great scoutmaster, but I just got distracted with other things and didn't worry about it until I realized, hey, time's running out. Because when you're a teenager, I think you miss it. And one of the things that was really impressive to me was a few years ago at Jamboree, we were sponsoring, the Order of the Arrow was sponsoring Odyssey of the Law and some of those other projects. And we sponsored one of the events with the Marine Corps. And the Marine Corps Commandant of Recruiting came over from Quantico in his blue crisp slacks and his khaki shirt, beautiful white hat, and 3 stars, and told all of the assembled group he was a life scout and he regretted he'd never finished. And there wasn't a boy in there that didn't go out of there saying, I'm going to get my Eagle done.
That is fantastic. And what a great inspiration.
It was. He looked like a poster boy for recruiting. And to have him stand up there and look and say what he did was very impressive. I think most of the young men who were Star or Life were saying, he's right, I got to get this done.
That's very powerful. May I ask what your Eagle Scout project was?
Yes, my Eagle Scout project was much different. We had a air base in Wichita, still do, McConnell, and I found out the U.S. government has all sorts of training films. So I got a group of the guys together. We went through all of the films, rated whether they were Boy Scout applicable and whether they might work with merit badge or rank, and then published a book that indicated what they could use, and the Air Force would let us check it out. So it took quite a while. We had to watch a lot of stuff, but we worked together to get all that done and then published the book.
That is fantastic. What a great project. That is cool. I mean,
it was fun. We just kind of stumbled on that this library existed. And, they were the old style where you would laugh about duck and cover in the hallway if there's a nuclear attack. But the other ones on survival issues, first aid, things like that, were all very good.
And all that stuff mostly applies today. I mean, very little of it doesn't.
It did, and they were all on film, which made it complicated. Now today you can pick it up on YouTube or whatever, so it makes a difference.
Absolutely. Well, let's shift gears a little bit, and let me ask you, how has scouting and and earning your Eagle Scout, how has that affected your future life and career?
Well, I spent 29 years as a corporate lawyer at Koch Industries, and I think the thing about it was every time I would apply for graduate school or I would apply for a job, the Eagle rank was very important to whoever I was talking to. They knew what that meant. And whether they hired me because of it or not, I don't know, but it was part of the consideration. The other thing I would say is the subliminal things that happen are you learn that trustworthy is more than saying it, and being loyal is more than saying it. It's doing it. And I think because of that and the inculcation of those values, the company I worked for, their values were the same. And you felt very good about the fact that you could be someone, set an example of what that meant. And I think that's really critical for us, is to realize that when you're not in uniform, you're still an Eagle Scout.
Absolutely. You are very true on that. Another, if I may also ask, is there any advice that you would give to young men who are working towards their Eagle Scout right now?
Yeah, one of the things we learned with my son, who had ADHD relatively severely, hyper-focused type, growing up, was we needed to have something that would remind him of things he needed to do. On the 90-day badges, for example, he would get through 30 days and then forget and quit and he'd have to start over. So a good friend recommended a chart on the mirror. So every morning he knew he had to do his physical fitness or whatever it was, and remind him of that. And then be a coach, be an encourager behind the scenes as a parent. It's important that the parent and the adult leadership be encouragers and not demanders, and that the young person's doing that because they want to. So part of the process is really appreciating the fact that I've never heard anyone say, "Oh, I'm glad I didn't finish my Eagle."
I agree with you.
It's always after the fact, and they go, "Wow, I wished I'd have finished it." And my son's an Eagle Scout, and he realized when he applied for a job, and now he's going to graduate school, that it meant a big thing. It was a big deal to his employer when he put Eagle Scout, because he had that and Philmont experience, and that was it. And so when he went to work at Cabela's, working there as he's doing now, they were very happy to have an Eagle Scout on the camping floor. And I joked with him, I said, "Now look, when people come into Cabela's, they want to buy the whole shebang. They're not there to go minimalist like you did when you were a trail crew foreman." And he laughed, and he said, "Okay, Dad, I'll make sure it's..." But I think it's important that people realize that the Eagle rank carries significant weight, even as much grief as we get sometimes about it. It's really important.
Absolutely. Now, on the same vein, what advice would you have to say to the new Eagle Scout when he gets to that point where he says, "What's next?"
Right. Well, one of the hard parts is, what is next? How do I get the old fuds like me to welcome the young person in? And what has to happen is you have to have an outlet where you can get involved at a level where you can match what you're trying to do with school or a career with your volunteer service, so that you don't have to jump in with both feet. You get into something that you can gradually work into, like on a district committee or helping with a unit as an adult. Working through the process of identifying maybe it's time for us to set up another group and do high adventure if you got younger Eagles. But the Eagle Scout, in my mind, if they're still troop age, should stay involved in that troop. Work through the process. As they go to college, they typically move away, but find a way to be involved, even if it's minimal, just to stay in, and then gradually increase your volunteer activity as you're able to do that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Is there any other piece of advice you'd like to stick out there?
No, I just tell everybody that if they're on the borderline and they're getting close to their 18th birthday, don't give everybody a cardiac arrest and get your Eagle papers done, when it's almost too late. But no, this has been great. You guys are doing a wonderful job, and it's great to see everybody in and out of here. Thanks very much.
You're very welcome, and thank you so much. I appreciate you coming in and talking to us today.
My pleasure.
And we look forward to just seeing you check out all these young men coming in and being a part of scouting.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.